we bought a multi-tenant retail medical plaza in Windermere, Florida. We also, one of the things we negotiated is we bought a vacant piece of land next to the center. You could not access the land unless you drove through the center. And part of the negotiation with the seller was we need this land. And part of the strategy was when the developer built the development, it was underparked. It didn't make sense. You had 20,000 square feet of space and you had a parking ratio of like 2-to-1. And you had medical tenants in the plaza. So what ended up happening when we first bought it, I just sat there for a couple of days. I would go there at different times of the day because I really wanted to see, prove out what I knew. And at 3 o'clock, one of our largest tenants is a very well acclaimed dance studio in Orlando, Florida. And at 3 to 4 o'clock, she would have kids come and the parents would be parking on the curb and on the grass. It was dangerous. And we had a school being built, a K through, I think, 8 or 9 school right down the road being built. And they were extending sidewalks, so the walking score and the walkability of the property. So you had all these kids and parents all over the place, and there's nowhere to park. And the cars are all over the place, and someone's either going to get hurt or people are getting accidents, you name it. And we went to the county and explained this to them, and they said, "You're absolutely right. What do you have in mind?" We spent $1.5 million and we configured the entire parking. We went from 47 parking spots, and we're just about to finish this development up, to 137 parking spots, which is tremendous. And the reason why that adds value is, God forbid we ever have a vacancy, but now it's going to be hard because the businesses are thriving there because of all this. And the way we configured it, landscaping and palm trees and just really, just really well configured parking. You could go right up to the space and park, and handicap spots for people that need it. And so what ended up happening was you just increased the breadth of tenants, the horizon that you can bring in over the next 20, 30, 40 years, however long we own this asset. And so what ends up happening, more demand, rent rates go up. You have this upward pressure on rents, and that's what's going on. So now we had a vacant space right after this parking lot was done. We leased up 2,400 square feet in a matter of days. We have a jiu-jitsu tenant coming in that's going to be thriving, and there's great co-tenancy now at the center. And we also added parallel parking spots on this road. This road, when we bought it outside the property, we had a road that was called Taberfield and Reams Road. And Reams Road was a 2-lane road right outside our property. Right after we bought it, it became 4 lanes, 2 each way. So the county was smart. They said, you know what? We want you to build the parking lot, put up a fence to protect the property, build a retaining wall, a detention pond, and call it a day. And that's what we did. And so we really helped the county out because the property sits in the county proper, even though it's a Windermere address. And what ends up happening is the county got what they want. Our tenants have more parking. We get what we need because we can assure that we have plenty of parking for future tenants. And also it's a safety issue. We have so many kids coming to that property, we don't have to worry about it. So our insurance rates drop too, and that benefits our tenants. So at the end of the day, you have sidewalks all over, you got kids walking. It's become a great community facility. So it's added value to the community. We add value to the property. We have happy tenants that are going to be paying more rent over time. It's going to be tough for them to leave because they're so successful, and because everything around us, while we're doing all this, all the vacant land has been developed luxury residential. So we're one of the few commercial properties within a few mile stretch with all this density around us. So now you have a school, you got a 4-lane road, you got new parking, and there's a barriers to entry because there's no land for competition. And so what ends up naturally happening? Your rental rates go up, and rental rates going up and happy tenants increase the value of your property just by fixing the parking. our core business is medical. A lot of our buildings are single tenant up to 7 or 8 tenants per property. And that's generally what our core focus, that's about 95% of our portfolio. And keeping that in mind, we've added value in all different ways, whether it be adding more lease term, increasing rent, buying rent that we had rent below market rates. We're able to increase them over time. Buying properties where there's high barriers to entry, where it's hard for the tenants to move. Or one of our criteria is significant investment by the tenant, because it's very difficult to move. And when it's difficult to move, and we also buy a lot of leases that don't have options, which is how we add value. We increase rent, increase term, maybe add larger annual escalations if they don't have them. Maybe we change the options. Maybe we've replaced roofs and gotten a 20-year warranty. And in the negotiation, we said, we'll replace your roof because it's $500,000, but we're going to get a 20-year warranty. You're going to take on that responsibility. So, and then we negotiate for them. We'll say, well, the first 10 years is free labor. For anything that contractor goes out, you won't have to pay a dime. So then you say, okay, well, if that's the case, we'll take on that responsibility. So what ends up happening, if you end up selling that property to refinance, and it's one less thing for a landlord to take on responsibilities, what ends up happening? Maybe you open the door to the 1031 exchange market, where it becomes more of a passive type investment. So we've taken active management investments and moved them into a passive category. And when you do that, you increase the audience that will buy your property. So more demand, better price you'll get when you sell.